Thanks for tuning in to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. Here you'll find tips, insight, and information to help your music and your ministry succeed. Whether you're a singer, a musician, or a songwriter, we want to help you where you are, but we also want to help you get to where you want to go. We believe that our talents are God's gift to us, but what we do with those are our gift back to God. Yesterday's information is important, but what we can learn today will make this the best day yet. Hey there, Rob Novell here, your host with the CNS podcast, The Best Day Yet. Hope everybody's having a good start to your day, or middle of your day, or evening of your day, whenever you're listening to this. Hey, excited and thankful that you've tuned in to listen today. We're going to talk on the topic, who do you represent? We're going to talk on that today, just sharing a little bit on that subject matter. But before we do, man, we are a couple days away now of heading to Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky for the Charles Novell School of Music's next session, CNS 23. Man, we are at capacity. We have filled our roster completely for this year and just super excited about that. My dad was passionate about this school, and it's all I've ever known. I've grown up in this school. I'm 53. I've never missed one. I've always been there, and I get so excited this time of year knowing that we're getting ready to go. The kind of has that ship is leaving the dock type of feeling right now. And man, just great anticipation of what God has in store for us next week. The coolest thing about the school is, yes, I run the school. I'm the director. I schedule and put everything together and coordinate and plan, and all of that goes in, to that. However, I almost feel like a student as well while I'm there. The coolest thing about CNS is the staff. We are encouraged. We are motivated. We show up to do just that. And man, God has a way through the students or guests that come in of, man, just speaking into our lives as well. There's just no experience like the Charles Novell School of Music. If you are not going to be with us and you had maybe some thoughts of attending, we will have a special announcement coming out probably in August about our online school. We've had an online school the last 3 years, 20, 21, 22, and it's going to happen again, but we are changing the format and the way that we do the online school is going to change up a little bit. So be listening for that. We may take a podcast in the future to kind of explain what we're doing and moving forward. We're working now on several events for 2024. So we're working on that, trying to get some events and some things planned. We'll be making some announcements on that as we move forward. But I talked to a couple students today that I will see Sunday at check-in in Murray. And man, just the level of expectancy that they're arriving with, and just so eager to grow and learn and deepen what they do for the Lord. And that's kind of where we're heading today with this topic. Who do you represent? I think we got to be careful all the way around when we're in ministry. I always do this. I'll use myself as the example. Running the Charles Novell School of Music, that there's a lot of different angles that I have to approach what I do through. Number one, it's something my dad spent 58 years building, and I don't want, from a leadership standpoint, I don't want to be guilty of doing anything that would, create discord or confusion or hurt the legacy and the history that my dad put into this school. So I realize I'm representing him. I represent our staff that we have on board with us, that will be teaching with us at not only the summer session, but as we do events through the year. Different staff members are at different events with me. And, so what I'm doing collectively is representing my dad. I'm representing our staff. But, most importantly, we're representing God. And I think the way we carry ourselves, the way we handle situations, reflects on him. My dad taught me this. He said, Rob, it's not the act that's going to be remembered. It's going to be the reaction. So I shared with somebody kind of right now, a few days out from the school, I'm in full panic chaos mode. And kind of today, it seems like if something could have went wrong today, it did. And but that's okay. It's not the act of what happened today. It's how Rob chose to respond to what happened. And I have to realize that, I am responsible for more than just Rob. Rob needs to be on that list. Who do I represent? Well, I represent myself as well. I represent God. I represent ministry. I represent gospel music. I represent my family. I represent being the head of the staff. We have got to make sure that we understand the responsibility of what we do. I love my job. I love what I get to do. I love ministry, but man, it's tough. It's hard. And there are days that I want to react to this thing that we all battle every morning. We all share the same thing when we wake up. Doesn't matter where we live. Doesn't matter what kind of house we live in. Doesn't matter if we have a paved driveway or if it's gravel. We all wake up the same way every morning, and we wake up battling the flesh, and that's hard. The enemy does his best. He knows where to attack us, and he does his best to try to get us off our game. But I know for me, I wake every morning quoting, God, your grace is sufficient over this day. Over this day. When I woke this morning, I said those exact words over this day. And yeah, some things went wrong today, but you know what? God is in control, and it doesn't change the outcome of what I get out of this day. But if I choose to operate in the flesh and respond the way that I want to respond, man, it would not be a happy ending to this day and maybe my endeavors in what I do. So we have to guard our, I've said it this way, next to my salvation, my testimony is the most prized possession that I have. I want people to look at me and say, you know what? That guy's doing things the right way. He's loving God. He's loving God's people. The biggest thing I get excited about with the school coming up is the fact that, we're going to have over 100 people there that I get the opportunity to allow God to speak to me so he can speak through me into their lives. And it's all about priorities at CNS. We start each day. Next week, we will start each day with devotions, a chapel service, time in the Word, and trying to set the tone for the day. So, man, we've got to stay focused on why we do what we do and realize there's that constant question, who are we representing? I know a struggle for me personally is social media. Social media has been, over the last 3 years, it's been a big part of the Charles Novell School of Music, and it's a way that we can get our message out, we can get our brand out, we can get our product out in front of people and let people know that, hey, the Charles Novell School of Music is alive and well and moving forward and walking where God wants us to walk. But man, there's days I read the post and I want to delete my social media apps because on a given day, it can just be very, very, very stressful and challenging for me to keep walking in that. God, your grace is sufficient for this day. It's different than the grace he gave us yesterday. It's different than the grace he'll give us tomorrow. He's sufficient for this day, for the day that we are facing today. And I start reading some posts, and you see all kinds of things on there. I know I'm preaching to the choir right now, there's been so many times that I have wanted to respond and I've typed it up, but instead of hitting send, I'll hit delete. And Jen, my wife, she has told me several times, you're going to accidentally hit the wrong button one of these times. You do know that. And I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. And it's going to be bad. But social media, I think we got to be careful. If we are in ministry, what we have to realize, people are looking at us. People are watching us. Man, the world is ready for us to trip and fall. They want, once we do, they like to pounce on that. But we got to be careful what we post and how we respond. Once again, it's not the act that's remembered, it's the reaction. So if I choose to, launch out at something that I see on social media that I may not agree with, if I want to, get all combative and put this big post out there to set somebody straight, that's my reaction. And somebody's going to read what I say and they're just seeing my reaction. They may never even see the original trigger point that caused me to type what I just typed out loud, but they're going to read my response and that's the reaction. So once again, the act versus reaction is so super, super important. I think again, when you're in ministry, you're in leadership. It's that simple. It is that simple. People are watching, people are looking, and you've got to be responsible and protective, again, of who you are representing. If you're part of a ministry, you're representing that ministry. When I was on the road with Perfect Heart back in the 90s, I had to carry myself in a way because I was representing the guys that hired me and the guys that I was working for. But again, more importantly than that, what I was doing out there was representing God, and I wanted people to see that. I've been in some situations where maybe I've had a T-shirt on or something. Well, actually, the other day, I was traveling. I was wearing a Charles Novell School of Music T-shirt, and someone asked me, "What's that shirt about?" And gave me a chance to explain the school, and that was a real easy icebreaker. But then, that can put you in a position where you can start speaking into someone's life. And, if people see that and see how the word says we're called to be salt and light, we're supposed to make a difference. We're supposed to look different. We're supposed to let people say, what's different about you? Why do you carry yourself the way that you do? And that gives us a chance just to brag on our God and speak about his love, his grace, his restoration. Man, my testimony is one of God loved me enough that he found me where he found me, but he loved me so much more. He refused to leave me there. Psalm says he picks us up out of the muck and mire and sets our feet on solid, dry, firm ground. We all have our testimonies, and man, when given the chance, we need to share those with people because we represent the most amazing person in the history of the world, and that's God. So let's talk leadership. Let's talk about who we represent today and how we carry ourselves when we're in ministry. There's 7 principles of leadership that I want to talk about over the next couple minutes. Number 1, belief in your purpose. Belief in your purpose. I quoted this scripture recently, Isaiah 1:19. It says, if you're willing and obedient, you'll eat from the best of the land. I know as leading and running and directing the Charles Novell School of Music, I want to be willing to hear God's voice. So I try to have myself in a place daily where I can recognize his voice. I remember when my kids were younger, especially at night when maybe you send them on to bed and that moment where you hear your name called out and you recognize the voice and you jump up to go check on your children. Man, I believe we need to be that tuned in that we can recognize that it's God's voice speaking to us. The enemy wants to confuse us. He wants to deceive us. He wants us to make us think that when he's trying to get our attention, he wants to mask that and disguise it and think that we interpret that as hearing God. So it's important that we are tuned in to hear our Father speak to us, just like I could recognize my kid's voice. They would recognize my voice, call back out. So belief in your purpose. You've got to believe in what you have been called to do. It's real easy for me. I'm passionate about this school, and I'm passionate about moving the work that my dad started forward. This school has done so much for so many people, but nobody can tell a story like I can and what the school has done for me. So what is the purpose of the Charleston School of Music? It's to love God, love God's people, and to help people be the best that they can be for the Lord. And so if I'm not firm in why I do what I do, I think that's, one of the first mistakes in trying to be in leadership, trying to be in ministry, is not believing in your purpose. Number 2, you have to take full responsibility of things. If something doesn't go right, be the first to raise your hand and say, hey, that's me. That's on me. That one's on me. Too many times I've seen people throw people under the bus. They don't want to raise their hand and say, hey, that's me. They want to focus on shifting the blame. Who can I put this on where it doesn't affect me? But you have to, again, be the first to raise your hand and say, my bad, I messed up. I think people under you, people that are, you are as a leader, you want people to follow you. So I think when they see that and see your humbleness and your ability to say, you know what, I am perfectly capable of making a mistake. Please forgive me for that. And let's move forward. When you can take that kind of step as a leader, people are going to see you in a different light. People are going to, I believe, truly respect you for that. Number 3, the ability to move on and forgive. This is a hard one here. We people wrong us. People do say this or say that, or, they hurt us. And that is a hard thing in life. That has been one of my hardest battles through my life, is forgetting things, forgiving and moving on. We want to kind of camp out there for a minute. We want to be bitter. And, I've said it this way for years. If you don't get better, you're going to become bitter. So we've got to move past hanging on to things. I've talked to people that have held on to grudges and feelings against somebody for decades. Man, that's just a waste of your time. It is not affecting them. That person's not losing one night of sleep. But when you harbor stuff like that, man, you're just stressing yourself out and you're adding more pressure to your situation. So, man, get to that point where, things are going to happen. Ministry is messy. That's why it starts with an M. So does messy. Things are going to happen. You're going to feel like you got wronged in something, a business decision, bookings, good grief. I've seen people so bent out of shape because someone else got that booking and they didn't get it. You know what? You focus on you and let them focus on them. Don't harbor, don't hang on to things. Forgive, forget. So you need in leadership, you've got to have the ability to move on and forgive. The next one, humility. Man, I think in leadership, I think there's a thin line between being confident and cocky. I believe God expects us to walk around confident about what we do. I know when I show up on that university this weekend, man, God and I have been talking for 12 months for what's fixing to happen next week. I'm very confident in what's getting ready to go down. So I'm going to walk in there with that type of demeanor. But I never want it to get to the point where it crosses the line and somebody thinks, wow, man, that guy, he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. Because look, I know I ain't all that in a bag of chips. But I think another area that we struggle in music ministry is compliments. I've heard people say, constantly deflect that, hey, that was really good. Oh, praise God. God is good. God is good. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. That's giving honor where honor's due and credit where credit is due. But at the same time, God has given us our abilities, and we can use those to encourage people, to bless people, to entertain people. Yes, I said it, the entertainment word. What we do when we go out and we perform and we do concerts brings an entertainment value to the listener. So when you're approached afterwards, hey, that was great, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think there's ways that you handle that where you stay humble and you stay, you don't let pride get in the way. But I don't know that we constantly have to deflect that away. I think at times a true leader is someone that, again, can tiptoe kind of that line between being confident and cocky about what they do. We've taught confidence numerous times. We will talk it moving forward in the future. Confidence is a big part of what we do. The next one, I think, is as a leader in ministry, you've got to be optimistic and realistic. Man, I'm super excited, not only about next week, but we are already planning things for 24. There's going to be several new exciting things that we're going to do. And man, at this stage of things on the planning end of it, I'm very optimistic that it's going to work. I think I've got to be that way. Whenever you take a step and you move forward, kind of in faith, trusting God to meet your needs, I believe there has to be a level of optimism put behind that. That I look at it this way. I don't want to shortchange what God may be able to do through Rob's life. So I'm very optimistic that as we plan events and we do future things, that, man, they just keep getting better and better, and God gets all the glory for that. But we also have to be realistic. There are things that I would like to do, but I know the timing is not right for them. So I give it a little bit of thought, kind of push it back a little bit in the planner. God and I can visit that when we need to. So there's times that you want to be optimistic and you want to believe that maybe the next steps for your ministry and what you're going to be doing, but be realistic within that too. I do not get up every morning and say, His grace is sufficient for this day, and then the Opry is going to call and I'm going to be playing the Grand Ole Opry this weekend. I'm realistic. I've been there. I've done that. I've played there. Yes. But that's just not the season that I'm in. And I think that goes back to the first point that we said, you got believe in your purpose. I think believing in your purpose also means you've got to be, again, confident in the season that God's placed you in. Seasons change. They come, they go. I'm looking right now at one of the monitor screens here in my studio, and I've got just the wallpaper is this beautiful mountainside in the fall. And I like the colors. That's calming. That's peaceful. Fall's my favorite time of year. So this particular screen, I have that on there as a calming factor, but I love the colors. And this desktop screensaver is not going to change until I physically change it. But seasons are changes. And seasons last for a what? For a season. And then they change and we move on. So I'm realistic in the season that I'm in, that of what God and I can accomplish. But I think the dreamer aspect of us, and we serve the creator of the universe. The word says He picked up a handful of dirt and blew in it and formed us, right? So that means if He's the ultimate creative, He blew into that dirt and created us. That creativity DNA is inside of us to begin with. I think He wants us thinking. He wants us moving. He wants us doing things that are out of the box and creative in our approach. But we do that realistically based around the seasons that we're in. Next trait or principle of leadership: value others' opinions, but be confident in your own. We will have a staff meeting Saturday night, when I have my staff coming in a day early so we can have a staff meeting Saturday night and go over things for the entire week. When we get done with that, some of these things I'm alluding to, I'm going to be a lot more transparent when my staff is in that room with me, and we're going to vision cast. We're going to talk a little bit about where I believe God has us going as CNS and what 24 is potentially going to look like and years past that. So I'm going to kind of at a couple points, I'll open it to the floor. My staff is my staff because I trust them and value their opinions. So I want to hear their opinions. But before, when I deliver some vision casting, man, I've got to be confident in my own ideas, in my own opinions. But I always want to be receptive and open. Man, I have been in so many situations where I've been under a leader that, man, they weren't listening. If you're talking, they're not listening. Nothing that you say is sticking. They're not receiving anything that you say. They're not valuing your opinions. Man, it's all their way or the highway. I'm not going to be that kind of leader. And I think you will be better in whatever situation, ministry leadership wise, that you find yourself in, if you're open and value the opinions of those around you. The last thing, self-acceptance. I think a leader, Rob knows Rob's strengths and Rob knows Rob's weaknesses. And that's something I'm constantly doing. It's part of our mission statement at CNS. We want to build on your strengths and help you develop your weaknesses. I know what I'm good at doing. I know it's a challenge for me to do. And I like to grow. I like new things. I like that challenge aspect of things. But I've got to understand and accept where my weaknesses lie and where my strengths lie. Back to my staff. This staff is here because I know the abilities that they have. And some of them are interchangeable. Some of them are one lane. Some of them are Swiss Army knives. They do multiple things. I know how to plug them in and best utilize them because of a couple things here that we just said. My ears are open. I want to hear them. I want their ideas. I want their input. But I'm also aware that as a leader, where maybe a strength of mine is not, so it falls under that weakness category, I may have somebody that I can ask, hey, can you step in? Can you do this? Because I think it could be much more efficient. So self-acceptance means you've got to be okay with where you are with your strengths and your weaknesses. Man, just some thoughts today on leadership. Again, who do you represent? We represent, again, the creator of the universe. I think we need to do everything we can to guard our testimony, to guard our ministries, and to make the one that we represent happy that we're representing them. And when you do that, look, you're simply going to find out that will become your best day yet. Y'all be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the name the Charles Novell School of Music. And for more information on CNS and our upcoming events, like our online school, our weekend regional sessions, our creative coaching, and our pastor's retreat, you can visit us at our website at www.cnsmusic.com. As you've listened to this episode, we hope that you've gained some information that you can apply to your music and to your ministry to make today the best day yet.